When you're buying a car, the process can be overwhelming. Now there's a better way. TrueCar. Reviews, discovery, pricing, everything you need. New car, used car, go to TrueCar. Good to have you in today. Howie Long, top of next hour. The always hysterical Matt Mosley, Dallas Morning News columnist. Joel Klatz on the phone. We'll yell at each other. It's great to have you on a Tuesday. There is some positive news. I've said this before. You can either glass half full, glass half empty. We're going to get through this. It's unique. Social distancing is key and vital. My family, outside of occasional walks around the neighborhood, we're locked up. And I am a believer that we do need to have our domestic aviation closed down for a week or two. We're going to get through this, and we're going to come out of it firing. Baseball, by the way, cross your fingers on the baseball season. If baseball's the first sport to come back, they're going to have the best regular season ratings they have had in 20 years. Give me a Mariners game. I'm dying for baseball. So baseball will come back. I do believe. NBA, I'm not so sure. But I think if baseball comes back, it's going to be, we just want sports. We're going to get through this. Stock market, I saw a rally today. That's going to be a roller coaster for the next month. You're going to have to deal with it. We're going to have cases skyrocketing. But the ingenuity of corporate America. Listen, I trust the American people. I don't trust politicians. Boy, you see a real separation of the haves and have-nots politically, and I'll just leave it at that. There's a lot of people that are just buffoons. But I trust the American people. I trust a lot of guys, the Elon Musks in our world, and we'll get through it. I will say this. I like Mel Kiper. I know Mel Kiper. I've partied with Mel Kiper. He's not really a partier. But he has a mock draft. It's brilliant. I agree with all of it. If there were no trades. And ESPN, ever protective and ever controlling, will not allow its people in mock drafts to have trades. Ridiculous. There's going to be trades. Do you think the L.A. Chargers are just going to sit back, moving into a new stadium, and hope Tua falls to us? That's not going to happen. You think the Miami Dolphins, if the Chargers make a move, are just going to sit there and go, well, they win, we're not going to move? 10 of the last 15 first-round quarterbacks, teams have moved up to get them. ESPN, ever controlling, doesn't allow... it's so nice to work at Fox. I'm not told what to say. I'm not told what I can do. I can do any mock draft, any trade. And Mel's draft is great. I agree with all of the first 10 picks. If there were no trades, you're going to have trades. You think the Chargers, moving into a new stadium without a quarterback, are just going to cross their fingers and hope Justin Herbert falls to them? They've got 3 cornerbacks. Outside of Baltimore, nobody in the league does. They got multiple picks, and they don't need their draft picks. What they need is a quarterback. They can give up every pick for a quarterback, and I'd be like, boom, good draft. Go home. Thanks for flying United. So you got teams like the Chargers with good rosters, multiple corners, really good players everywhere. They need a quarterback. They're moving up. And also Detroit and the Giants are not very good football teams. Detroit's awful. The Giants, I think, will be bad because, the OTAs will get canceled, limited camps, rookie head coach, young quarterback, new system. I think the Giants are going to really struggle. All teams with new coaches, because of this virus, abridged or limited camps, are going to struggle. Cleveland, I think, has talent, could struggle. Matt Rule, good as he is, can't implement in his system, could struggle. But Detroit and the New York Giants... literally, if they're not willing to move, if the Detroit Lions with the 3rd pick don't make a deal and don't trade down, then honestly, they don't know what they're doing. You very rarely get into a situation where you like your quarterback, your top 5 or 6 in the draft, and multiple people need a quarterback, and there's 2 or 3 good ones out there. So nothing against Mel, great mock draft, but ESPN doesn't allow their dudes to do any trades. I think they think it's too confusing. You're going to have trades. Just guarantee it, you're going to have trades. Because you have 2 teams, the L.A. Chargers and Miami, are not going to sit idly by and hope they get their guy. And in the Chargers' case, they have a very unique situation. They don't need a bunch of draft picks. They just need a quarterback. They've got 2 receivers I like, 2 backs, solid left tackle, and guard. 2 pass rushers. They got their safety, 3 good corners. So they got personnel they could trade, draft picks they have, and they don't need a bunch of draft picks. So love you, Mel, but I can't read a mock draft that won't do trades. That's why this year, as I'm watching mock drafts, it's kind of like some people who I really like, I know they're limited and they can't do things. But Detroit and New York, if you're a general manager, Bob Quinn in Detroit doesn't move down because they need multiple people. I'll tell you what, if I was Detroit, what I would do, I'd call the Chargers. I'd say you could have my pick. Give me your second best corner. Give me 2 or 3 picks and you can have it. In a heartbeat. If I was the Lions. Howie Long's around the corner. Tom Brady spoke in Tampa. I'll let you hear that. And where in the world is Cam Newton going to land? He's no longer a Carolina Panther. Stop waiting to see what happens in life to get back to normal. Take control of your future now. mycomputercareer.edu. Take the free career evaluation today. It's mycomputercareer.edu. Hour 2 next. Here we go. Hour 2. We're live in beautiful Los Angeles. All of our platforms. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, we're on iHeartRadio. We're on Fox Sports Radio. We're on FS1. We're on Sirius XM Channel 83. Downloading stuff. Our podcast numbers have been through the roof, so have our digital numbers. We're all over Twitter today. We got a little different setup. You can't see Joy. I can. Technology is an amazing thing, and Joy Taylor is joining us today from the beautiful confines of her smartly appointed condo, it looks like. How are you, Joy?
I'm doing good, just hanging out, social distancing, staying home.
Same here, folks. Social
being a rule follower.
Yeah, no, I'm, my wife's not a rule follower, but she's been following this week. And listen, just keep your distance, wash your hands. Just my daughter and I my daughter is a great hangout companion. She's doing Instagram shows, and I'm sitting there watching, TV shows and old games and having a great time. Howie Long will join us in just a couple of minutes. So Tom Brady held a teleconference? He didn't actually hold a press conference, a teleconference today. And Tom Ever, the politician, he did talk about, why he chose the historically below-average Buccaneers.
There are a lot of things that really were, intriguing to me about the organization and, the players and the coaches and, the willingness of everyone to try to, accomplish what the goal of playing football is, which is to win. I'm going to try to do everything I can in my position and what I'm responsible for to make that happen. And, I've got to trust that everyone else is doing the exact same thing. So in that part, it's no different from, what I've experienced, for 20 years in my own role.
Yeah, now I've said I do believe Tom will be productive. This is a team that had 35 turnovers at the quarterback position. If they could cut that to 16, they'll just win more games. Most of their good players are young players who are getting better, and it'll be a second year in Bruce Arians' system. But they've got bad special teams historically. They were lousy last year, and you cross your fingers on injuries. But I just think if Tom reduces the number of turnovers by half, Tom Brady in the last 4 years has had 29 picks. Jameis Winston had 30 last year. So if Tom has 12, 13 picks, 1 or 2 fumbles, I think they just win more games based on efficiency. Brady also talked about, driving over to Robert Kraft's house and breaking the news on why he was leaving New England.
It was really, the night that I had stopped by and spoke with Mr. Kraft and asked if I could come over and see him. And we spoke and we had a great conversation, and I just wanted to express, what he's meant to me in my life. And we spoke with Coach Belichick at the same time. We were at different locations, so we talked to him, and it was a great conversation.
I got to tell you something. This is obviously not analogous to Tom Brady, right? He's a legend. But 3 times in my life, I've gotten into a car, Joy, knowing I'm driving, including ESPN, and twice locally, I'm driving to a company. They think I'm staying. I'm going. And it's not nerve-wracking. It's incredibly empowering. You feel great about it because you've made a decision, and nobody's going to change your mind. And Brady, I looked up on a website how far Brady lives from Kraft. It's right around the corner. He could have walked to his house. So I'm sure it was an emotional decision, but I've done it 3 times in my life where I know I'm going to say it's out of here. And you have a feeling you're just waiting, for a word or a line or something. And it's empowering. It's not depressing because you kind of made up your mind, and you may give them one more shot, but you've made up your mind. And so I thought to myself, oh, my God, what would that be like? Belichick's on the phone. You're sitting talking to Kraft. And it's probably emotional, but it's probably a massive relief because you've been sitting with that. In all 3 instances, I'm sitting with that thing for like 2 months. It's on my shoulders. But once you're driving there, the decision's made. It's just this massive relief off your shoulders that you're going to say, hey, I love you guys. I love you, but I got to go. And I think Brady probably took from according to this bite is, hey, man, I wouldn't be here without you. I love you guys. You're awesome. Nobody will ever take any of it away. I just want to try something new. It's empowering. Howie Long's joining us, the Hall of Famer who only played for the Raiders. It is interesting. Brady talks about he's sitting next to Kraft. He's got Belichick on the phone. Have you ever had one of those meetings where you got to tell somebody you love or care about, I got to go? Maybe it wasn't with the Raiders, but have you ever had one of those, those moments in your life, Howie?
The only one, and first, you guys are great for being on, and I think we all, in these really challenging times, if you just stare at the news 24/7, you'll just go crazy. And, you offering kind of an opportunity for people to escape, you guys are doing a great job.
Thanks.
You enjoy her, to be commended. The only conversation that I had like that was I had decided to retire in '93 and went to the Pro Bowl and didn't tell anyone in the organization and just retired at the Super Bowl. And that was when I met David Hill and really I didn't have a plan other than we were selling our house in California, wanted to raise the boys somewhere where we thought was, a good place to raise the boys, and we ended up in Charlottesville. And Al was not happy, and, it was difficult because Art was my head coach, Art Shell.
Yeah.
And I had played with Art, and Art really kind of brought me up. Art Shell and Gene Upshaw and guys like that brought me up.
Wow.
And,
great guys.
I didn't want to let Art down, and one was the direction of the team. Two, there were some other things that, I'd rather not share. That I just, it was time for me to move in another direction. I'd had 8 or 9 surgeries at that time. And I thought, I went to the Pro Bowl. Let's call it quits on a high note.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're headed in the right direction. And Diane and I had to go in and sit down with Al and have that conversation, and it was not a good conversation.
Yeah. I mean, but when you left, you start your new life.
It was It was a weight. I tended to be manic about, the preparation and playing, and it was all about football, and, it was 24/7, and I could never shut it off. And if I got hooked once or twice in a game, I'd stay up all night Sunday night and just relive the play in my head. It was, I think I heard you mention when I was on hold, when you decided to make the move, it's difficult, and then you finally make the move, and it's a relief, and you're headed in another direction. I was very fortunate that when I made that move, it was a weight off my shoulders. And, you don't have to be the baddest guy in the world anymore. You could just be, the dad of 3 sons and who's headed in another direction. And, the money wasn't, as anywhere near as good as it is now. To put it in perspective, in 1981, when I was a rookie out of Villanova, out in Oakland, my check was $1,007 after taxes. I drove a used Coupe de Ville with spoke wheels, velour interior, 8-track cassette deck, the big 8-track, the big one. And I was rolling hard in Oakland. But you know what? $1,007 for a kid from the neighborhood I came from was a bunch of money. But, fast forward to 13 years later, and listen, the Raiders drafted me. I couldn't imagine playing for another team. It was them or nobody. Never entered into my mind. And the ironic thing was, he fast forward five years, when I go into the Hall of Fame, he calls me up in Hawaii and offers me a 2-year deal, and I'm 39, 40 years old. And he said, I know you're working out. I know you're in great shape. And I was playing basketball at the University of Virginia at that time when I could still, do all that stuff. And I said, how the hell does he know I'm in great shape? Does he have somebody in the building? Al was, I saw things that and I'll never share most of it, but it was the most unique organization you could possibly play for.
Yeah, it was almost a small business in a big business world. They did things a little differently.
Well, you go from Villanova, where there's a priest on every floor, to the Oakland Raider locker room, and guys are smoking Salem Lights, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, culture shock. Hall of Famer Howie Long. It is interesting about the best teams in college or pro football generally have very strong cultures. How difficult, maybe because the Buccaneers have lost so much, do you think Tom can have a seismic change? Can he change the culture of Tampa in a year?
Well, how many pick sixes did, and listen, Jameis is an extraordinary talent, and I am hopeful that he will go someplace and someone will kind of find the cheat code on, don't make this throw off balance high to whoever from the other team. Their defense, for example, if you just don't turn the football over with a score or turn the football over in your own territory on a regular basis, that defense was pretty good at the end of the year.
It was. By the way, Washington's defensive line, if they get Chase Young with Ron Rivera, if I'm Washington, I could bring him up. I've got all sorts of room. If I don't think Dwayne Haskins, I think Washington I guess the point is Tampa's not that far off. I don't think they are.
Oh, hey, listen. They're loaded. Evans is, and when you play in Tampa or, fill in the blank city, it was like when Chris was playing in St. Louis. You can have 42 sacks in 4 years. If a tree falls in the woods and there's nobody there to hear it, does it make a sound?
Right.
That's the Tampa effect.
Yeah.
And now everything has changed. And they're loaded. And you've got a coordinator that can relate to Tom on a different level, and you've got a head coach who not only can relate to Tom, not that Bill, it's two different conversations. Bill definitively appreciated Tom and what he did. It's just that Bill is as brilliant as Bill is, and he is brilliant. There's Bill, and there's everybody else. And I'd say Pete Carroll's probably, in my mind, second there. He is incapable of changing his approach to coaching players. This is how we do it. This is the formula. And, it's kind of a transient team. You go back and look, and I pulled this up. I remember one year we had them in the Super Bowl. And I pulled it up, and I thought to myself, I remember we did their first Super Bowl game, and I thought there's no way on God's green earth that they could beat the St. Louis Rams.
Right.
I looked at every film there was to look. Terry and I looked, and we just couldn't see a way that they could beat them. And hubris ended up being the downfall of the Rams, not running the football. And they win that game if they do. But they're a transient team because of the way they're built. They're fiscally sound. They don't make wild free agent moves. They take care of their own when it's the right time. They move on, for the most part, 95% of the time, at the right time. It's such a versatile scheme, both offensively and defensively. It changes year to year. It changes month to month. It changes week to week, half to half, quarter to quarter. You have to be great at coaching. You have to have smart players.
Yeah.
And it's the old, I can be you, you can be me. We're all interchangeable. In other words, the right guard can be the left tackle. The center can be the right guard. The defensive end can be the outside linebacker. We're all interchangeable. Therefore, we're all expendable, with the exception of Tom, for the most part, and maybe a Gronk. and the slot receiver has been, we've seen many iterations of that throughout the course of the 20 years that Tom's been there. But you count the number of offensive linemen Tom's played with, you count the number of tight ends, you count the number of wide receivers, you count the number of running backs. The numbers are staggering.
And he just keeps doing it. That's where I think he goes to.
He keeps doing it, and they keep coaching it.
Yeah, and
now,
I think,
that's important.
It is, because Tampa's going to be new people, and I think he's going to figure that. I don't think new people bothers Tom. I think he's going to be productive.
Tom has, like Bill, and this is the ironic part, like Bill, Tom has a standard of preparation that everyone around him has to raise up to that level. And I think that permeates through your team, not just on offense, but on defense and maybe in special teams where, that's one thing that New England always kind of stayed up on. Bill has his fingers on every position on that football team. Having had a son that played there, I always wondered what it was like there. I thought I knew what it was like, but, having Chris there and they won a Super Bowl and...
What did he say?
He just said, it's tough. It's a selfless, it is a selfless system. It's not about you, it's about the system, and it's about winning. And you could be playing out of position or in a scheme that doesn't necessarily lend to you being the best player you can be. And nobody cares because it's not about you, it's about us, it's about the team. And that can really wear on players.
Sure.
Over a period of time, and really, when you think about it, it's shocking that it lasted 20 years.
Oh, absolutely. Of course it is.
And it's people say it's a shocking move by Tom Brady. It's the most talked about move I've ever heard of. For 2 years now, it's been that way. It's kind of like people guessing when Tom will fall off the cliff.
Yeah.
If you just guess enough, you're going to be right at one point because he's 43 years old. Of course you're going to be right.
Yeah.
Now would be the time. It's a stock to sell.
Yeah. Hey,
but he's going to. I hope he really does a great job down there. I hope they raise their level as a team, and I hope he enjoys it because he deserves it. He really does.
Yeah. By the way, I love Travis Frederick retiring today because I am a big believer. I want my great players to go to a podium or a speaking engagement, and I want the imagery to be, I use you as an example. I want them walking up, looking good, barrel-chested, happy, funny, smart. I don't want guys hobbling up to a dais or a podium at the Hall of Fame. I love the idea that players get paid enough now that they can retire at 29 years old. Calvin Johnson, doesn't Luke Kuechly. I looked at Travis Frederick retirement, and I'm like, this is good for football. I want my guys out at 29.
Here's the thing about most players that have played at a high level. Mediocrity is not something that, you could continue to play and be good, but not great.
Yeah.
Not let's say you weren't a Pro Bowl player anymore, and you're, Pro Bowl, whatever your kind of standard is.
Right.
That's difficult to handle.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle being great because it drove me crazy. I didn't enjoy football or my career until I was done.
Yeah.
And then I had the opportunity to look back on it with perspective and distance.
I've talked to golf pros who have said that. They're like, it's like, I'll enjoy this when I've retired. I'm teaching now. I don't get to play as much. No, I get it. Like we say this all the time. People are like, oh, you have a great job. And I'm like, it's work. I enjoy the work. But it's not, I don't go there every day saying it's just going to be fun. We got a show to do. Joy and I got to fill 3 hours a day, and we've got no games. So it's,
Yeah, I've apologized. I know how much you prepare, and to do the kind of show that you do is really amazing. Every day you got to show up, and you've got to be informed, and you've got to be on top of things, and you've got to find ways to, pique the interest of your audience in multiple sports and genres and topics and all that. It really is. I've apologized to my kids.
Oh, really?
For, when I was a player, because I was so obsessed with it.
Yeah.
It's nice to just be able to be a dad and coach Little League Baseball for 8 years and coach high school football for 8 years. And having had the opportunity to do that was really special.
Yeah. And you are a great dad. It's just, listen, it's plus we're all different. You're 20, you're 30, you didn't have a ton, and you're making it finally. And now look at your life. It's a series of commercials and free haircuts.
It ought to be illegal. No, really, it should be. It's embarrassing. And when you call home, you can't tell Uncle Billy, hey, Uncle Billy, I bought a, whatever, a watch that's expensive, or I added a guest house on. It's too much. Uncle Billy can't comprehend that.
Yeah. Good talking to you, buddy. Howie Long, Hall of Famer. Love talking to you.
Joy and Colin, take care, be safe, and be well.
Thank you, Howie Long. Listen, it's funny about that, Joy. We love our jobs, but like anybody listening to us, doesn't matter what you do. You can be an insurance broker, a landscaper. It's a job.
Of course.
And it would be way more fun. Mark Schlereth gets to play he loves his yard. So Mark Schlereth can play in his garden all day. And he says, I have so much fun. But if you paid him to do it and he had a time limit and he had to do the next door neighbor's yard after his, it's not as much fun. That's why you have to love the process of what you do. Because, the minute you get paid and you have responsibilities, so Howie Long, it's a job. And he was great at it. But when you stop and you're like, oh, now I got to coach my kids, this is way more fun. And so,
yeah, I mean, a job can be fun and you can enjoy it, but it's still a job. So it's not, like when you're a kid, you're like, I want to be an astronaut. Like, great, so you can go to space. But there's also like a process that gets you to being an astronaut. You got to be a scientist first.
Right. That's why you have to enjoy the process of it, or it doesn't matter how much money you make in life. If you don't enjoy Philip Rivers said that. He goes, I love practice. He goes, I like practice more than the games. Brady clearly likes the process of a game plan. Drew Brees loves building the architecture of building it. If you didn't, you just wouldn't last. It's all jobs. Kobe Bryant, he loved practice. LeBron James loves it. So, I mean, can think about these NBA guys now. They want to get back. But you're just taking away the joy. If you're the world's best at something and I take it from you, I can't even practice. Oh, I feel so bad for these NBA guys. They're the world's best. It'd be like being the world's best singer with laryngitis. You couldn't sing. I mean, it was just, LeBron James is sitting there. I can't practice?
It's like, incredibly frustrating.
Oh, my Lord. All right. We got Matt Mosey's around the corner. Joy's got an update as well. Over 50 years ago, two men with a passion for motorsport and engineering began building race car engines in an old abandoned mill. Opportunity they saw on every curve, on every wide open road. An invitation, chance to push the envelope, break the rules, chance to prove that a 2-ton family sedan can compete in 24-hour track races. But it wasn't just about shocking people, right? This engineering company wanted to validate their belief by putting race car engines in luxury sedans, and they proceeded to stun the elite in motorsports racing. What drives them? Who knows? What drives Mercedes-AMG? To break barriers along with every record in the book. But here's to allowing us to enjoy the results. Learn more at MB, that's Mercedes-Benz, MBUSA.com/AMG. Mercedes-AMG, driving performance.